Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Wally Weasel. And here we are with a tier list. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's about time that I do something of this caliber. Why? Because we're at the end of Nostalgia Month, and I figured what better way to celebrate than to go back and look at some of the classic games that I've played growing up. A lot of these games are going to be older console type games. Basically, Sega Genesis, Nintendo, Commodore 64, things of that nature. Now, I know some of these games that you'll be seeing might have been re-released in some capacity, re-released or remade or what have you. But, hey, who cares, right? It's my list. I'll do it my way. So, yeah. That all said, let's just get right into it. So as you can see here, we have the remaster, which is, obviously exactly as it sounds. Good example would be the Final Fantasy VII remaster. It's basically, well, no, I suppose the remake would be a higher tier than remaster. Okay, whatever. You don't want to do that? Fine. Don't do that then. Here, we'll just do this then. Remake. Okay, it doesn't want to do that. So, okay, whatever. You know what? Remaster will be the top tier. Remake. Yeah, remaster would just, as it is, a remaster. Not like the Final Fantasy VII. The Final Fantasy VII would fall into the remake. Yes, completely remake the game in a new engine, all that other good stuff. Re-release is, pretty self-explanatory. Leave alone is, we're fine with it not being a thing anymore. And obviously, I like pie. So yeah, this isn't like a ranking system. This is more categorizing. There we go. So remaster is fine at the top. Remake is fine just beneath it. Re-release and then leave alone. And then, yeah. So let's start with 4x4 off-road racing. So this is kind of awkward for me because I'm kind of holding the mic with one hand and utilizing the click and drag with the other. So we're not going to be, hovering or what have you a lot in this video. Like I know a lot of people like to do that. I can't. So we'll put that back at. No, don't. What are you? Oh my God. This is a free clear site, so yeah, it's got its own issues. So, anyways, let's just get right into it. Enough blabbering all around. A little bit bigger. So, with 4x4 off-road trucking, I obviously put leave alone. It's no, come on. You're a tier list. Why aren't you acting like a tier list? Yeah. Okay, for whatever reason, 4x4 off-road trucking doesn't want to go into leave alone. I don't know why, and I don't know why everything is being stupid. And I don't want to have to re-upload it because that's just dumb. So basically, off-road trucking is in leave alone. Maybe I'll add that in after, when I do like a, hey, look, everybody. So for now, just so it's out of the way, we'll just delete it. Okay, why is it? Stop doing that, you stupid tier list. Okay. Anyways, yeah, leave alone because there are so many driving simulator games, and that's basically what 4x4 off-road trucking is. It's a driving simulator where you drive down a dirt road and you every now and then you get a chance to purchase items at a shop that will help you in your travels, whether it be keeping your engine cool, keeping your engine full of oil, gasoline, things of that nature. So it had a good basic amount of variety when it came to being a driving simulator. But let's be honest, there are so many driving simulators. I think we are fine. Next up we have ARG. And to be honest, let's see, I put down leave alone as well. So let's see if this actually works. Can I? No. For a tier list, I can't actually move stuff. This is a very bad tier list. It's not doing what it's designed to do. Why don't we just skip that and move to the next one will it just allow me to do the other one, or do I have to? No, now it is. It's like if I try it once, I can do it. But if I try it again, it just won't let me do that. Okay, so we're just going to put Battle Chest in where I want it to be, and we'll talk about it later. Okay, we'll put Battle Chest in Remake, and we'll try ARG again. No. You get like one shot. And if you goof, then that's it. Anyways, okay, just like 4x4 off-road trucking, we're going to put ARG in Leave Alone because basically we see that there is, or at least is coming, a Godzilla game that is pretty much the same thing. You know, big city destroying monster fighting game. It's basically Godzilla. So we'll leave ARG there for now. And now we'll talk about Battle Chest. And Battle Chest is an interplay game. You can see it by the little logo there. You know, a little interplay. You know, we all miss you. And it is what it says. It is chess. But it is chess in a more comedic route. There's a lot of Monty Python references in Battle Chess. Especially, well, just only in the animated mode. But I'm saying make it a remake, because we could use more chess games that are a little more open to the public. I mean, when you think chess games, you're not exactly thinking, you know, super animated type experiences. You're not, you know, jumping out there and looking on your Steam or your Xbox store or PlayStation store, you know, typing in chess and then being all like, oh my god, I can't wait until this one goes on sale. But with Battle Chess, I think we could do that, especially if the company that would make it could make it so that you have different sorts of chess pieces that would interact with, you know, opposing chess pieces in unique manners, because that is one thing about Battle Chess that makes it, you know, unique, is that when you have certain pieces meet, they'll have their own little animation. You know, you've got the pawn who meeting up with the rook, they'll push over their spear, just basically be all like, yeah, I'm not going to fight you. Two knights fighting is, yeah, it's a direct reference to Search for the Holy Grail, you know, Monty Python and stuff like that. The queen will hug the king and then stab him in the back or something like that. And I think the bishop just basically pulls out a dagger and just stabs people. So, yeah, stuff like that. And having special chess sets, you know, like based upon different franchises and what have you, would be fairly interesting. It kind of sucks that we're on our third game and we only have one on the list because of stupid tier list. Okay, but I've learned. Don't click and okay. Anyways, let's continue on here with BattleTech. And we are going to move BattleTech into as well remake. Because BattleTech is basically a D&D type game, you could say. You create your BattleTech, and then you know, you would basically, okay, it's more Warhammer, okay? It's like Warhammer before Warhammer was a big thing. Basically, you create your giant mech, and you utilize a piece for it. You know, for instance, when I created mine, I actually got pretty lucky. I called it the Silver Zebra, and based upon its stats, I was able to use the Battle Master as its field representative. So that was pretty cool. I never got to actually play with the Silver Zebra, which kind of sucks. But in a BattleTech CRPG, yes, I could, because then you could just recreate, or just create in general, your giant mechs. And given how CRPGs are starting to make a comeback in a way, you know, with your, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 being a leading example, and I don't hear too many bad things when it comes to Wasteland, that series. And yeah, so I think BattleTech would be a perfect example as a new CRPG. And yeah, it just, you know, why not? It's basically like Armor Core, except as a CRPG, you know? It just works. Okay, let's continue on with these things with California Games. Obviously right there. And it'll be our first re-release. It'll be, yeah, it's just basically a collection of games. Essentially, it's not like a Summer Olympics type deal. It's more or less, you know, your skateboarding, your rollerblading, you know, games of like the 90s that you would, you know, go through with in the summer, you know, your surfing and things like that. So not necessarily sports that you would see again in Summer Olympics, but they are, you know, summer themed sports. So something like a collection of those would be rather interesting to put back out there. You know, just, yeah, pretty basic. Next up we have Hybris, and this is a personal one for me. I want it to be a remaster. If not the game, somebody do a remaster of its theme. Okay? I swear to God, it's either its theme or its level theme. You just listen to it. It demands that you grab a guitar and you remake it. All right, there are so many people out there who are turning video game music of this classic era and putting it to different instruments and stuff, most notably electric guitars. Hybris needs that. Okay? It needs it. Just listen to the level theme and you come back and tell me no, it doesn't. You won't be able to. So at the very least, the remaster is more or less just a for the music, but it would be nice to get a remaster of the actual game. It is a top-down spaceship style shooter where you level up your ship based via flying packs and whatnot. It's fairly basic, especially compared to today's standards. But again, the remaster is mostly for the song. Somebody do that. All right, get the ball rolling. I'm making the ball. It is up to you to get it rolling. Okay, Indiana Jones. This is going to be different because, well, there's a few different ones, because you can see like James Bond and stuff like that. But I'm going to be having a large mixture of these kinds of things later on. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to count Indiana Jones alongside all other kind of movie tie-ins and stuff like that. So, your, well, not just your movie tie-ins, but your product tie-ins as well. So like your 7-Up games, your Chester Cheeto, your Crash Test Dummies, your Mighty Max, your things like that. Let's not forget history. Let's re-release these things. All right? Why am I being told to sign in? I have no idea. Okay, whatever. Anyway, nothing personal was given. Again, this is a free tier list, so maybe I should have just coughed up the $2 or something. Anyways, yeah. So just re-release them. It would be difficult to do so, but it would be kind of nice to just have that history back out there. I'm pretty sure some of those game files are kicking around in some of those companies, and given how games are, I know like companies wouldn't come together, like you're not going to get Chester Cheeto and the 7-Up Spot, coming in to collaborate on re-releasing their games, but just, release them under the Arcade Classic banner. I think there is a company that is doing that. You go to your stores and it'll basically be like, Arcade Classics or whatever. And that's how those games are being re-released, like the early Genesis games and stuff like that. So yeah, games like Indiana Jones and all those other games that I've listed. I'm not certain if I have another one set up here. I'm pretty sure I have it by an image, and I don't want to talk about it yet, but we will. So we may or may not get to it. If I don't see it, then I'll come back to it. Okay. Anyways, let's go with Into the Eagle's Nest, which is a top-down shooter where, well, you just go around and shoot Nazis. And if that sounds familiar, yeah, it's basically Wolfenstein before Wolfenstein was a thing. So as a result of that, we can just say leave alone. If at the very least, it'd be kind of cool if id Software were to maybe, I guess, buy the rights to have it play out as like an arcade game, sort of like how they have the secret Wolfenstein level in the Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein game. But yeah, I don't really see it as something people would be clamoring for. So again, we can just leave it alone because, yeah, as I said, Wolfenstein is already a thing. And it's just basically the same deal. Next up, obviously, we have James Bond Stealth Affair. Now, I love this game. It is difficult as all hell because you really do have to think like a spy. You really do have to think like James Bond. They're not going to tell you when you have to do things. You have to know. You have to remember the gadgets that you have and what they do. And yeah, like for an example, there is a time where you need to activate a CO2 canister in your pocket, but you only have a very finite amount of time. And if you don't do it, then you actually drown and you game over. And you have to start the game over again because this is a Commodore 64 classic, and games like that just didn't really have save files. So as a result of that, I know it would be nice to say remaster or even a remake, but screw it. Let's just re-release it. Especially with those classic Commodore 64 style color pages. You know what I mean. The ones, people who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about with the color locks. Bring that back too. Obviously, have the game come with a color code or what have you, but just for fun, bring it back. Those things are awesome. I love those early anti-piracy locks. I think the other game that had that was like Leisure Suit Larry, where it's like you have to put in a girl's phone number that you get from the instruction manual. And James Bond Stealth Affair was no different. It would have like an entire image on the back of its instruction manual, just so that you would know what color to input. And there were a lot of colors too. There's like not an image that had anything to do with James Bond. I don't know. Anyways, I'm rambling. Okay. Keith the Thief. It's basically a scrolling type adventure game. It's not something that I played a lot of. In fact, I had to look up gameplay footage of it. But side-scrolling adventures of this sort do have their fans. So again, really re-releasing it as an arcade classic would definitely work. And I do apologize that I'm not really showcasing much or any in the way of gameplay footage. I'm kind of working on this as a last minute type deal, so I don't think I have as much time to edit it as I would appreciate. But hopefully these are games that you can look into yourself. So yeah, let's go with Techno Cop. And I did a video for this on my channel. So you can look it up there. You can play it online. Some of these games you can actually play online via ROMs or emulators and stuff like that. So yeah, just kind of ignore that as this whole thing goes. So we're going to put that in remaster because this game, if you haven't seen my video or if you haven't seen it in general, is badass. Well, I mean, the timing and some of the controls, not so much. But basically, it's two games in one. It's a driving simulator, and it's a side-scrolling shooter. You drive to your destination, and then you shoot your way through a bad guy's base. However, you can either be lethal or non-lethal. Being non-lethal is a little slower, but I guess a little more, rewarding morality-wise. Like the game doesn't really do anything with that unless it's saying like you have to take the criminal in alive, like the main criminal. You can do whatever you want with the other people who are just there. But the main criminal, they'll say like, you need to take them in dead or alive, or you have to take them in dead, or you can't really take them in dead, or you have to take them in alive or stuff like that in order to garner your bonus. I think in a remaster, they could play around with that a little more. Maybe even make it something like Deus Ex. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, that's why I have it as a... Well, no, that would mean they would have to put in a remake. But a remaster would work perfectly. Just either get rid of the timer or put a little more leeway. Because the way the timer is now, you have to know where you're going in order to actually apprehend the suspect. Which, yeah, kind of sucks. Because especially, for first timers who are just getting their feet wet. Yeah. Anyways, next up we have Winter Games. And if California Games is getting a re-release, Winter Games is getting a re-release. And this is more so your Winter Olympics. It's your bobsled, it's your speed skating, it's your figure skating, it's your ski jump, it's your... What else was there on there? There's like freestyle figure skating as well. I know that there's like 2 type of figure skating, although they played similarly. It was very weird, but it was a fun game, especially, when you're doing the figure skating and you miss a command and you fall on your ass, or if you fail to do the ski jump, you just face plant into the snow. Good stuff like that, Again, just good memories on that front. So let's get that back out there again. Next up, we have Wiz and Liz, which is another side-scrolling, and I guess you can call it adventure. Basically, playing up as a pair of wizards, or one wizard, depending upon how you're doing it, and you're collecting rabbits, fighting, various bad guys, and you can even throw tomatoes at the developers. Because they have a sense of humor, which is always important. And just as important is giving it a remaster. Honestly, I'm surprised that this game hasn't come out with the amount of love that I imagine the developers had for it. So, yeah. Okay, and let's finish off the Commodore 64 list with Zoom. And it's basically a good old puzzle game, and as a result, we're going to... Oh, okay. Right. You can do that, but it doesn't really matter. Again, because I'm not organizing these by numbers or what have you. So, yeah, we'll put that in re-release, because we can always use more puzzle games. Unfortunately, this is about the best I could do for a label for Zoom, but Zoom is there, so yeah. So now, let's get onto the Genesis games. Still see ARG there. Can I do what I want with ARG now? No, I still can't move ARG. Okay, ARG. I can't move ARG. Okay, Altered Beast, which, yes, I know was re-released. Hell, it was even... Some of these were even re-released on the Sega Genesis Classics collection. However, I'm kind of ignoring that for the sake of having content for this video, which is more important to me. So ignore the fact that some of these games are in fact either already re-released at the very least or on the Sega Classics. Most of the games that I had on my list, I did remove. Like, I don't think I have any Sonic games on here, for instance, because all those games have been re-released how many times on Sonic collections and stuff like that. So yeah. But that said, Altered Beast needs a remake. Which is funny because there were people who tried to do a remake of it and they kind of got permission, but then they kind of got told no. So you would think like, okay, well, what's Sega doing with Altered Beast then? Like, are they remaking it? Maybe they are. Maybe it's kind of in like development hell. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm just hoping. But yeah, if it's not getting a remake, it should get a remake. And should it keep the twist ending? I think so. We don't see too many games with that sort of twist ending, and it would be nice to have it out again. because yeah, just do that. Okay, next up, Battletoads, which is originally, well, I mean, I'm going to put this in remaster regardless, but I would have been more excited or more hopeful of this happening had the Double Dragon game done better than it did. It just seemed like it kind of came out and people just kind of gave it the meh treatment, and I kind of feel like Battletoads would get the same thing, but still I kind of want to go with my original idea and say, yeah, let's remaster Battletoads. Let's get that, you know, questionable gameplay out there, that difficult motorcycle level, the bell going down level. Yeah, let's get that out there. You know, just for fun, just for funsies. It's a classic of a bygone era, so very, very important. Oh, I seem to have lost my list, which is not good. Okay, shouldn't take too long to get it back up. Anyways, yeah, so let's go on to Beavis and Butthead, which does fall under the same line as Indiana Jones, you know, given that it is based upon, you know, outside property and stuff like that. But that being said, I would still like to see it get a re-release. I mean, I could have just put it, you know, all in with the Indiana Jones. But again, I think I have... Yeah, there it is. We have all the Simpsons games. So we'll get to that one when we get to it. But yeah, we'll talk all about that. But yeah, Beavis and Butthead was another side-scrolling kind of... it's like a side-scrolling Metroidvania, in that the only way to progress is to gather up certain items, and in order to get those items, you need other items and abilities and stuff like that. But it was just a fun game overall. You know, you could switch between Beavis and Butthead and stuff like that. And yeah, it was like, you know, the South Park games before, obviously, South Park, because I mean, you can see like Super Nintendo. So yeah, it was like, it had the same art style and, you know, the same kind of comedy and stuff like that. It's amazing people don't talk about this game more so, especially, you know, when what we saw of the South Park games when they came out. And you know, the South Park games that, I mean, you know, they're the only South Park games that people would ever talk about. And next up, we have Shakan the Forever Man. This is a game that is very near and dear to my heart as well as my brother's heart, because it's a game that we used to play a lot growing up. And kind of odd because it is a side-scrolling adventure. But the thing is that, I'll just put this in the remaster, is that it's one of those games where you can say, yeah, you can play when I game over, and inside you're giggling, because the fact that he is the Forever Man means you don't game over. You die, but there are no game overs. You're just there to win. You know? It is another kind of Metroidvania in a smaller term, if I can remember correctly. It's not like you need certain items to progress in areas. It's just they make it easier to progress in certain areas. And it is short, actually relatively short, because again, it's a Genesis game that you're meant to play until you beat. So it's not that long, but I think a remaster could work in not just, you know, bringing it back, but just expanding it a little. You know, adding in maybe another few levels as like bonus or whatever, or what have you. But yeah, it would be an enjoyable time, to say the least. Oh, good, 7th spot there. Even though I mentioned him in Indiana Jones, I guess that's supposed to stand up for, well, the product placement games. But again, I haven't really looked at this list in a long time. I made this list back in June, and this is like nearing the end of July, like just on the ending July side of mid. So yeah, I had to get this video up for next Thursday. That's like 2 weeks. So that's why I'm recording this, and that's why I don't really have as much time as I would like to edit. So anyways, let's continue on with Clay Fighter. And for this one, we are going to put it into the overpopulated re-release. We'll put it right there. We'll knock Beavis and Butthead down a layer. Not that it really matters, again. And again, this is a very important game because, well, at least to me, because again, it's a fighting game that was not Street Fighter. It had a different style to it. And obviously that was, rather enjoyable and stuff. I never played Clay Fighter 2, but Clay Fighter 1 was definitely the game, and Taffy right there was my man. Even though I'm not really a fan of figures like Dalsum or what have you, which he was obviously the stand-in for, I still like Taffy. So yeah, I enjoyed Clay Fighter, so it deserves a remake just for its artistic stylings, and I think you could actually really emphasize it on being, a clay style fighter, especially with today's graphics and what have you. Earthworm Jim definitely deserves a remaster. Yeah, the creator is a bit out there, but the games themselves, you got to separate the art from the artist and all that stuff. The games themselves hold a special place. And with all the kinds of remakes and remasters and re-releases that we're getting, it's surprising that Earthworm Jim hasn't been given the same level of love and attention. Somebody just needs to buy out those rights and just go with it. Put those games out there. If Ren and Stimpy got a re-release, and if you know anything about the creator of that one, then yeah, Earthworm Jim definitely deserves that as well. Next up, we have Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing. And this is something we haven't done in a long time. And, no, we don't put that in I Like Pie. We put that in Leave Alone. Because, obviously, it's a boxing game. We have enough boxing games. And Evander Holyfield is a big deal then, but not so much in this day and age in order to sell boxing games, unless it's a classic boxing game. Sorry, Evander. You had a fun game, okay? I loved creating the Beast and letting him run roughshod on like the first tier opponents, and then realizing that the game was punishing you by draining your stats even faster than normal opponents. So basically, by the time you got to like Michael Lamb, yeah, you were pretty much beaten up. And just a side note, we played the game so much that we actually knocked Michael Lamb down from like the number 1 position beneath Holyfield down to like number 20 something. The poor guy. But yeah, so again, fun game and a very early utilization of jingle mechanics. So we gotta point that out. We do have to point that out. I love going for multiple rounds for obvious reasons. Okay, next up, obviously we have, well, it kind of looks like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that's because they utilize the same artist. It is not. It is Saturday Night Slam Masters. And this is a game that is so easy to decide it needs a remake. Seriously, it deserves a remake. It is Capcom's style of a wrestling game. It is canonical. It is in the Street Fighter lore. It is on their, list of games in their Street Fighter 6 world and stuff like that, alongside Darkstalkers and other such games. And given the height of wrestling today, it is confusing that Saturday Night Slam Masters isn't getting more attention than it needs right now, or than it's getting right now, especially in Japan. Like, how many wrestling companies are there in Japan? Like, I can at least think of 4 off the top of my head. Now, there's a 5th one. I mean, admittedly, 3 of them are Joshi centric because, I've been watching a lot of Joshi wrestling lately. But the fact is that they can throw in so much DLC into this game. I'm certain that there are a lot of companies that would love to take part in this. And yeah, we need to continue the adventures of Biff Slamkovich and Gunlock and all the Barnyard friends and stuff. So yeah, Saturday Night Slam Masters, remake it. Capcom, you have the money to just throw into something like this, okay? Like, even just a remaster would be good enough. A remake or a re-release would be fine, but a remake, yeah, that would just be golden, okay? Just like, even if it's like the exact same kind of 2D style, that's fine. Just acknowledge it. You are acknowledging it. You're reminding people that it's there. Get it out there in your own special way, okay? Next up, okay, I keep saying next up, but obviously next up we have the vast collection of Simpsons games. Now, this isn't all the Simpsons games in the picture. This is just, a fair number of them. Personally, I've only ever played Bart vs. the Space Mutants, Bart's Nightmare, Virtual Bart, and obviously the Simpsons game for, like, the PS2, Xbox, and that whole era. And yeah, this is basically for all Simpsons games, even though there's only like 5 on there. Every Simpsons game obviously needs a re-release. I know there would be legal issues with that, as the same way as any product tie-in or movie tie-in or what have you game, but Disney has the money, and Disney has re-released a lot of their older games, like Aladdin and Lion King, Jungle Book, a few other games along those lines, like a lot of their Saturday morning cartoon games as well. So, just re-release The Simpsons as a collection. You can even just re-release it as 2 or 3 different collections if you want to make your money. Just do it. Just re-release them, put them on different stores and what have you. Especially since, we're getting a lot of releases. Like Rugrats has a collection that's come out. We have the Marvel one that came out not too long ago, and again, we'll get to that. And why do I have 2 Evander Holyfields and 2 Technopops and 2 of everything else? I'm very confused by this tier list, but we're getting towards the end anyway. So, next up we have Star Trek. And is this just Star Trek Echoes of the Past? Yes, it is. And this is a fun as hell Star Trek game. I can't speak comparatively to most other Star Trek games that came out around the time as to how it felt in comparison to actually playing an episode of Star Trek, but it was pretty good. Its main focus was on away missions. It had some ship-to-ship combat, which is more kind of, like you get your options at the bottom, your fire, your shields, and all that other good stuff. And the computer, oh my god, to this day, the computer still pisses me off. Because I remember when we rented this game, and I did want to play it. Like, I wasn't a big fan of Star Trek at the time because, in my adolescent mind, an hour of live-action TV was too long for me. I would rather watch 5 hours of cartoons and just watch the time go by. But with an hour of live action, no, that was just too long. But I remember wanting to play this game, and my brother was like, you can play. I'm just kind of reading up on the computer. And the thing is that the computer has information on just about everything in the show. Every race, every ship, every freaking character, everything. It's not voiced or anything. It's just there as text, and it's like, God damn, it's like a Mass Effect style codex before a Mass Effect style codex. So we're gonna put this into remaster, if I remember correctly. Yep. And to be honest, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but I do have an idea in regards to something along this line as to why I'm putting it in a remaster and not just re-release or remake. Because, we're getting like all the other tie-ins down in the re-release. So yeah, hopefully soon, hopefully within the next few months, I'll have something up that I'll have this make sense. Though now that I've said it, chances are I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to try not to, but yeah. Anyways, only 3 left. So yeah. I wonder if I can get off-road trucking. No, okay. I'll probably have to delete these. Actually, I wonder. Why just delete these? Will I get my off-road trucking? Well, I see BattleTech. I see James Bond. I'm afraid that if I click it, then I'm not going to have anything. So that's why I'm just doing this. Whoop, I see ARG. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm not seeing off-road trucking, but I'm seeing ARG. Okay, we can put that down and leave alone. Okay, can we get my off-road trucking? Actually, that said, we can just get rid of this ARG. And we're very, very slowly working through everything. Oops. Yeah, that's okay. That's kind of what I figured. What happened? So I gotta wait. There it is. Off-road trucking. Good. Now I am happy because now I don't have to stop recording and then put those back in later. So there we go. We got those down there. And we still got 3 left. We got Vector Man. Now this goes for Vector Man 1 and 2. Although I can only speak of Vector Man 2, even though it's Vector Man 1 there. Oops. I keep doing that. I remember playing Vector Man 2 knowing the difficulty that came up with Vector Man 1. Vector Man 1, when it first came out, was touted as being the most difficult game out there. Now, this could have just been its own publicity, basically being all like, hey, we're super difficult. Make us, play us if you're real true gamers. It's sort of like along the same vein as different fighting games that came out where they're like, yeah, we're better than Street Fighter, and trying to get that word of mouth going. But a lot of them, obviously it didn't pan out. I remember for Eternal Champions, their main advertising point was like, let Street Fighter 2 be your training wheels. And yeah, where's Eternal Champions now? Should be in re-release. Like an actual re-release that is actually playable as opposed to just some special edition version of the Sega Classics. But what have you. Anyways, Vector Man, speaking of that, needs to be in re-release. Now, is this the sort of re-release that is, with the Sega Arcade, or I don't know, but re-release with within the first 2 games of Vector Man, which is surprising because Vector Man 1 was so popular and then Vector Man 2 came out, and I guess it was easier. I'm going to assume it was easier because I remember beating that a few times actually. And like the giant spider sound effect when you shoot it is always going to live rent free in my head. But yeah, so either I was an awesome gamer when I was younger, or they really downgraded the difficulty for the second one, or again, it was just an advertising ploy made by the company. So yeah, I don't know. You tell me. Coming to our end here, just our penultimate game, X-Men 2 Clone Wars, which is one of the ones I was most disappointed in not seeing in the recent Marvel Maximum Collection. Had X-Men 2 Clone Wars been on there, I would have just slapped down my money and said, here, I'm not even counting this money. Just give me the goddamn game. But however, given that it did come out, well, not this one, but the Marvel Maximum Collection did come out with a good assortment, it stands to reason that they would do it again. So I think out of all of them, this one has the highest chance to actually get re-released. Because while, yes, there are other Marvel games, X-Men 2 Clone Wars is... It's a game that needs to come out, especially if the MCU is really going to start pushing mutants. Get that nostalgia thing going. You got your X-Men 97 Season 2, which I haven't started watching yet because I'm slow at this kind of stuff. But yeah, X-Men 2 Clone Wars needs to come out because, again, it came out at the perfect time. Like, I mean, they really capitalized on it. It was like back in 95 or so, 95, 96. I'd say like probably 95 because it was around the time that the X-Men cartoon was huge. So, me and my brothers would watch the cartoon, and then we had successfully been able to rent this game. We would play it, and then we would play with like the X-Men figures. I remember one morning we all took turns playing it, and we, obviously, again, because it was a Genesis game, we start from the very beginning. I know I keep saying like just because it's a Genesis game, you'd always have to start at the beginning. I know some games would have passwords and what have you, but yeah, X-Men 2 was definitely a game that we just started from the beginning and would work through towards the end, getting to like the phalanx space, and yeah, game overing, and then the other person would come in and start playing and just kind of go over, watch the cartoon, or play with the figures. I think for whatever reason, I cannot remember this, but we're doing like a crossover type thing between the X-Men and the G.I. Joes we had. And for whatever reason, Professor X we put on the side of Cobra. I don't know. Maybe they remember. Maybe if they're watching this, which I hope they will, because they helped me get some of these games, remind me and stuff like that. I know I keep saying a lot. That's kind of my thing. But yeah, maybe they can remember why we did that. So yeah. Anyways, last but not least, we have the tie-in games. Your TV shows, your product placements. I know I kind of put them all together with Indiana Jones, so this is like no surprise. We're just going to put this in re-release. You know what? I'm going to put this at the front of re-release because this is a re-release them you cowards type deal. All right, I swear. And a lot of these, you got your crash test dummies, your Tick, your Marsupilami. Again, that one does make sense because that is a Disney game. That's a Saturday morning game. So yeah, Disney has no excuse for not re-releasing that. And then Chester Cheetah, which I've already mentioned, 7-Up Spot, Mighty Max as well. I've already mentioned those ones. Re-release them, you cowards. A lot of these games were side-scrolling rip-offs of Super Mario, and we need to remember that. We need to keep them as part of gaming history. All right? Just somehow put them back out there. Just do it, Anyways, as we are right back to Vector Man for reasons, and we got Spot again. That is the end of this tier list, and that is the end of this tier list video. I might do another one, depending upon how well this one does, and focus primarily on like PS1, PS2, Xbox, Windows 95 to Windows 2000 era of PC gaming, even though I know a lot of those, it's easy to just say, oh, well, re-released, because they were re-released. Have you not heard of GOG or things of that nature? But I'm pretty sure some of those I could come up with something a little better than re-release. I don't know. And same thing with like, your PS2 and PS1 and Xbox and stuff like that. Like those games, I know a lot of them have been re-released, especially, on stores and things of that nature. But there's enough obscure games that were just kind of swept under the dustbin that would be kind of interesting to talk about. You know, I can already think of a couple. So I don't know. Again, depending upon how well this video does, maybe it'll come across a little better, because again, now I know how this tier list works. Yeah, it'll probably be a lot better, and it'll probably be a bigger tier list. I'll try to make it like a bigger one, because looking at this now, this is a pretty small tier list, admittedly, compared to like other tier lists that are out there. But I figured, you know what, this is still fun, and yeah, I had fun. Did you have fun? Are some of these games that you played? Where would you put your personal games from childhood on this tier list, assuming that they were, you know, within this realm of video game release, you know, your Genesis to Super Nintendo to Commodore 64 and stuff like that. So yeah, just let me know in the comments, and all the good stuff. Or if you feel like some of these games deserve to be in different tiers, unfortunately, because I'm not signed in, I'm not saving this thing. So the best way to do that is to just say it in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that I am the perfect god of tier list making, and I am unfathomable in my decisions. So yeah, if you want me to believe that, then, you know, go ahead. But yeah, aside from that, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.